My name is Catherine White, and this is the story of how I learned to say no to the family that had been bleeding me dry for years. It all began at my brother's wedding, when his new bride handed me a $10 gift and told me I needed to educate myself. To support my brother Christopher through his doctoral studies, I dropped out of high school and took a job at an automotive parts factory. Out of my monthly salary of $3,500, I sent $3,000 to him, keeping just $500 for myself to survive on. On Christopher's wedding day, his bride, Brittany Hughes, stood before all our relatives and handed me an envelope containing $10. "Sister, thank you for all your hard work. This is just a small token of our appreciation," she said with a practiced smile. "But honestly, women really need to educate themselves more. Otherwise, your perspective remains so narrow that you cannot even keep up with your children's education in the future." My brother Christopher nodded in agreement beside her. "That is right, sis. You should stop trying to take advantage of us all the time. We are under a lot of pressure, too. My mother-in-law is so generous that she is planning to sell one of her properties to help us buy a $75,000 car." I looked at their designer outfits, worth tens of thousands of dollars, quietly slipped the property deed I had planned to give them back into my pocket, and walked over to take the microphone from the wedding officiant. "Excuse me, could we pause for a moment? As the elder sister, I have a few accounts I would like to settle with this newlywed couple in front of everyone." The crystal chandeliers in this luxurious banquet hall on the outskirts of Chicago blazed with brilliant light that made me squint. I sat there in my faded old coat, completely out of place among the elegantly dressed guests who were stretching their necks to shower the bride and groom with flattery. "Oh my, our Christopher is a doctor now. What an honor to the family." "Absolutely. The bride is beautiful too. You can tell she is from downtown Chicago. Such good fortune." When it came time for the toasting ceremony, my brother Christopher, dressed in an impeccable tailcoat, approached with his bride Brittany in her pristine white wedding dress. Brittany held her champagne glass with a flawless smile that took on a different quality when her gaze swept over me. She walked up to me and, in front of a table full of relatives, pulled out an envelope decorated with golden patterns from her Chanel purse. "Sister, you have worked so hard all these years." "But honestly, sister," Brittany continued, her voice not loud but clear enough for everyone at the table to hear, "women really should read more and improve themselves. Otherwise, their vision becomes too narrow and they cannot keep up with their own children's education later." Look at me. I graduated with an MBA from Northwestern University and now work at an investment bank. Education is truly important. The air at the table froze instantly. My head buzzed as images flashed through my mind of working 10-hour shifts on the assembly line at the Detroit Automotive Parts Factory, my eyes red from exhaustion. I saw myself eating cheap TV dinners 3 times a day to save a few dollars, unable to afford fresh vegetables. I remembered rushing to the bank the moment my $3,500 paycheck arrived each month, wiring $3,000 of it away while keeping just $500 for myself to last the entire month. I had supported Christopher through his undergraduate studies at the University of Michigan, his master's degree at Northwestern University, and finally his doctorate at Stanford. I had transformed my youth, my sweat, and my entire life into strings of numbers on his tuition bills. And this was what I received in return: being told my vision was too narrow. Then my illustrious brother Christopher, the doctor, delivered the final blow. "Yes, sis, Brittany means well." He looked at me without a trace of guilt in his eyes, only an attitude of complete entitlement. "You should also stop trying to take advantage of us all the time. We just got married and our careers are just starting. We have a lot of pressure too. My job at Google in Silicon Valley is extremely competitive. Look at my mother-in-law. She is so supportive. She is planning to sell her Lincoln Park condo to help us get a Tesla Model S. A $75,000 Tesla. I looked at their custom Giorgio Armani outfits and felt the thin envelope in my hand. The last vestige of my belief in family bonds shattered completely. I calmly tucked the envelope into my pocket and stood up. "Excuse me, sir," I called to the officiant on stage. "Could you please wait a moment?" The music stopped. Every eye in the room focused on me. My mother Carol at the head table stood up anxiously, frantically signaling me with her eyes while silently mouthing, "Catherine, do not embarrass us. Come down here." My father Michael's face turned ashen as he glared at me with eyes like daggers. Ignoring them all, I walked straight onto the stage. Under the bewildered gazes of the guests, I took the microphone from the confused officiant. "Good evening, everyone. I apologize for interrupting for just a few minutes." I took a deep breath and connected my phone to the projector. A clear image of a property deed appeared on the large screen, with its red cover bearing the Illinois state seal. Downtown Chicago, River North District, 2-bedroom condo, paid in full. The room erupted instantly. I could clearly see Christopher and Brittany's eyes blazing with greedy excitement. I smiled. This condo was originally my wedding gift to my brother as his elder sister. Christopher's face lit up with joy as he excitedly started to walk toward the stage. I did not give him that chance. "However," I continued, my voice turning cold, "my sister-in-law was quite right earlier. As a factory worker who never even graduated high school, my vision truly is too narrow. Such a valuable property, I think I should keep it for myself to improve my situation in the future." With that, I swiped on my phone in front of everyone. I selected the photo, clicked on it, and deleted it. The property deed vanished from the large screen instantly. The entire hall fell into deathly silence. Christopher and Brittany's smiles froze on their faces. A few seconds later, Brittany's shriek pierced the silence. "Catherine, what do you mean by this?" She pointed at me, nearly tearing her wedding dress in her fury. "We gave you money out of kindness, and you embarrass us publicly? Are you jealous?" I looked at her coldly. "Kindness? $10? Are you treating me like a beggar?" I waved my phone and switched the screen content. A detailed Excel spreadsheet appeared on the large screen with the title, "Christopher White, Educational Expenses Detailed Statement." "Since you are both so proud and think I am always trying to take advantage of you." My voice was ice cold, without a trace of warmth. "Let us settle this account clearly today. These are all the transfer records from when you started college in 2010 until you finished your doctorate, totaling $238,000. Pay me back first, Dr. Christopher." Christopher's face turned pale as paper in an instant. The relatives at his in-laws table, who had been so cheerful moments before, now looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Catherine, you have lost your mind!" My mother Carol finally could not contain herself and rushed onto the stage, pointing at my nose while letting out a piercing scream. "Are you trying to drive your brother to death?" My mother's wails were like sharp knives trying to pierce my eardrums, but I did not spare her even a glance. My gaze remained fixed on my crumbling brother like nails. I raised the microphone, my voice not loud, but clearly carrying throughout the entire banquet hall. "September 5th, 2010. Transfer of $12,000. Memo. College tuition." I paused and looked at Christopher. "Christopher, do you remember? To gather this money, I took a 3-month advance on my factory wages, signing a contract like an indenture, working overtime until 3 in the morning every single day for 3 months. My hands still bear scars from operating machinery for such long hours. March 10th, 2012, transfer of $3,000. Memo, laptop purchase. You called me crying, saying all your classmates had MacBook Pros for assignments, and you were the only one without, being looked down upon. I gave you the money I had saved to treat my stomach problems. August 22nd, 2015, transfer of $15,000. Memo, graduate school application fees and living expenses. That year, my apartment building caught fire. I ran out with nothing but our parents' photos and your certificates. I had nowhere to live and slept on a friend's couch for a week before I could afford to rent another place. And you, with my money, posted photos on Instagram of your vacation to California with your girlfriend at the time. With each item I read, I added the story behind it. Those heart-wrenching moments of hardship I had never told anyone, swallowed in silence. Now I laid them out one by one under these brilliant lights. Each sentence was like a resounding slap across Christopher and Brittany's faces. Christopher's body began to shake, and Brittany's face went from flushed to ashen. The murmurs from the guest tables gradually changed from initial curiosity to something else entirely. My goodness, this sister has had such a hard life. She is not just supporting her brother, she is practically a saint. This brother and sister-in-law are terrible, complete ingrates. Brittany's parents, the so-called city folks, who had been putting on airs, now sat with faces cycling between pale and flushed, clearly uncomfortable. They had thought their daughter was marrying a promising doctor, never realizing this doctor had been built on his sister's blood and sweat. "Stop reading! Shut up! Shut up!" Christopher finally broke down. Like a crazed wild animal, he screamed and lunged toward me, reaching for my phone and microphone. I was prepared for this. Years of heavy lifting on the assembly line had made me much stronger than this office-dwelling scholar. I sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and pushed hard. He stumbled and fell awkwardly on the stage. "What? You can dish it out but cannot take it?" I pointed at him, years of suppressed grievance and anger finally erupting. "I ate the cheapest hamburgers in the factory cafeteria and sent you every penny I saved. And you? You wore Polo Ralph Lauren shirts, used the latest iPhones, and bragged on Facebook about how your family bought you a car and prepared a house for you. You spent my hard-earned money to package yourself as an elite to chase upper-class Chicago girls. Christopher, has your conscience been eaten by dogs? Everyone, look closely. This is what the White family has cultivated with my flesh and blood. A white-eyed wolf doctor who got his degree by sucking his sister's blood." I threw the microphone down hard on the stage with a piercing crash. Amid the chaos, my mother's wailing and my father's angry shouting, I turned around and straightened my back. I walked out of the banquet hall without looking back. I called an Uber. "O'Hare Airport, please." Just as I settled in, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Is this Catherine White? Regarding the property you own in Wayne County, Detroit, there are important urban redevelopment compensation matters we would like to discuss with you. The preliminary valuation exceeds $3 million. I am from Morrison Real Estate Group's legal department. Please call back when you see this." It was my grandmother's old house that she had left me when she passed away, located in the heart of Detroit's massive urban revitalization project. On the Uber ride to the airport, my hands shook so badly I could barely hold my phone. I took several deep breaths before cautiously returning the call. The voice on the other end was professional and calm. "Ms. White, this is the legal counsel for Morrison Real Estate Group. Our company has recently launched a commercial development project in downtown Detroit, and your property in Wayne County falls within our Phase 1 redevelopment zone. According to Detroit's latest compensation standards, combined with your property's size and excellent location, our preliminary assessment suggests the redevelopment compensation plus various incentive bonuses will total over $3,020,000. $3,020,000. After hanging up, I asked the driver to pull over. I got out and squatted on a Chicago sidewalk, burying my head in my knees. First I laughed silently, my shoulders shaking, then tears came. I could no longer hold back and cried like a lost child who had finally found the way home. I was not crying about the $3 million. I was crying because I finally had the confidence to stop looking at anyone's face, to stop being manipulated by anyone, and to live for myself with dignity for once. At the airport, the first thing I did was buy a new SIM card. With the new number, I logged back into social media. On Facebook, Brittany's latest post stung my eyes. She had uploaded 9 professionally edited wedding photos where she and Christopher looked so sweet and respectable, as if today's events had never happened. The caption read, "Grateful for all the encounters in life and for my sister's blessings. Although there was a small incident today, we believe family always comes first. Harmony brings prosperity." Below, mutual friends who did not know the truth were congratulating her. "Congratulations on your wedding, Brittany. You look beautiful. Dr. Christopher is so handsome, a perfect match." I felt sick enough to vomit my morning coffee. Just then, Marie, a former co-worker from the factory, sent me a private message. "Catherine, are you okay? You were amazing today. So satisfying." "I am fine. I have come to terms with everything," I replied. Marie immediately sent a big hug emoji, then said, "Girl, let me tell you some inside information. Do not get upset. A relative of mine was there today. He has some connection to Brittany's family. He secretly told me that Christopher took out several credit cards and borrowed over $50,000 from online lending platforms to pay for this lavish wedding, counting on gift money and your sponsorship to cover it all. Now that you disrupted the wedding, they barely collected any gifts and completely offended Brittany's parents. I heard her parents said right there that the wedding was embarrassing and they would not give them another penny. Credit card companies are already calling non-stop for collections. He is completely overwhelmed now." I looked at my phone screen with a cold smile. He deserved it. Just then, a distant relative I had not contacted in years added me to a new family group chat called White Family Forever. As soon as I joined, Christopher's messages came like machine gun fire. "Catherine, come out here. You ruined my wedding and my life. You just cannot stand to see me succeed. You witch!" My parents joined in with their sob story. My mother sent voice messages, crying hysterically. "What sins have I committed to raise such an ungrateful daughter who would destroy her own brother's future for money?" My father typed angrily, "Catherine, if you do not come out and apologize to your brother and sister-in-law, we will disown you. We will cut all ties." Looking at these completely distorted accusations, I did not even have the energy to be angry. I quietly opened my browser and found the official Detroit City Planning website with documents about the urban redevelopment project. I took a screenshot and returned to the toxic group chat, posting the redevelopment announcement. I also screenshot the business card of the Johnson lawyer who had contacted me. The entire chat fell silent. After a full minute, I sent my final message. "Do not worry. Once I get the money, I will hire the best lawyers in the country to have a good discussion with you about that $238,000 debt. Oh, and there will be interest too." I pressed leave group and the world was quiet again. I did not stay in that suffocating city for another second. I bought a first-class ticket to Miami. This was my first time on an airplane, let alone in first class. When the flight attendant smiled and offered me champagne and hot towels, I felt awkward, but mostly experienced a new kind of peace. I checked into the most expensive oceanfront suite on South Beach. Opening the door revealed a massive floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the endless Atlantic Ocean. I threw myself onto the soft king-size bed, feeling all the exhaustion from the first half of my life evaporate. I ordered a feast of seafood I had never tasted, Maine lobster, Alaskan king crab, fresh oysters, just for myself, eating slowly. I posted my first Instagram photo, my feet in the fine white sand with the azure ocean as background. The caption read, "My second half of life starts today." Likes and comments poured in, mostly from old factory co-workers. "Wow, Catherine, you are living the life we all dream of." "So wonderful, you deserve all of this." Their blessings were simple and sincere, bringing tears to my eyes. I turned off my phone and went swimming in the hotel's infinity pool. For the next few days, I lived a life I had never dared imagine. I learned to surf, rode jet skis, went out to sea on yachts, and got a healthy bronze tan. I felt like I was truly alive again, no longer the numb factory worker Catherine. Just when I thought I could completely escape my past, trouble found me anyway. I was lounging on a beach chair, leisurely drinking a piña colada, when a call came from a Chicago area code. I hesitated, but answered. "Is this Catherine White?" The voice was businesslike. "Yes, who is this?" "Ms. White, this is the Cook County Sheriff's Office. We have received a missing person report from your brother, Christopher White." My heart sank. "He claims you have been missing for several days, are emotionally unstable with suicidal tendencies, and may be under the control of criminals, potentially in physical danger. He is very concerned about your safety and has requested police intervention." I immediately understood Christopher's vicious scheme. By reporting me as missing, emotionally unstable, and suicidal, he could potentially have me declared mentally incapacitated. Then, as my immediate family, my parents and he could become my legal guardians, managing all my assets, including the $3,020,000 compensation that was coming. What a brilliant plan. For money, he would stop at nothing. But I did not panic. "Officer," I said with unusual calm, "thank you for your concern and my brother's worry. Would it be convenient to have a video call? I think that would be the fastest way to clear up this misunderstanding." The officer was clearly not expecting this response, paused, and agreed. When the video connected, I turned the camera around, showing him the bright sunshine, swaying palm trees, and other tourists in bikinis laughing on the beach. Then I turned the camera back to my face and gave him a brilliant, almost blinding smile. "Officer, do I look like someone with suicidal tendencies or under criminal control?" "I look more like I am on vacation, right?" The young officer's expression was extremely embarrassed. "Ah, Ms. White, I understand. I apologize for disturbing you. This does appear to be a misunderstanding." "No problem, officer. You were just doing your job," I smiled. "However, please tell my brother that I am doing very well. Also, please educate him about the law. Filing false police reports is a felony in Illinois." After hanging up the video call with the police, my smile vanished instantly, replaced by ice-cold eyes. "Christopher, you even tried to exploit legal loopholes, wanting to turn me into a legal madwoman to steal my assets. Well, do not blame me for letting you taste real legal consequences." I did not continue lounging on the beach. I immediately called Johnson, the lawyer. "Johnson, they have made their move. Let us begin." Johnson responded quickly. "Understood, Ms. Catherine. I anticipated they would take further action. I have already contacted Miami's best legal team, and they are ready to serve you at any time. Please immediately notify hotel security to be vigilant." Following Johnson's instructions, I called the hotel security manager to briefly explain the situation. They responded very professionally, immediately agreeing to increase security patrols around my room. After completing these tasks, I felt calmer. I knew they would come. Cornered beasts make the most desperate moves. 2 days later, they arrived. I had just returned from a spa treatment and had not even entered the hotel lobby when I heard my mother Carol's familiar piercing wails coming from inside. I walked into the lobby to find a scene more dramatic than I had imagined. My mother sat on the gleaming marble floor, slapping her thighs while crying and cursing, attracting stares from all the passers-by. Why is my life so miserable, raising such an ungrateful daughter, getting rich and abandoning her parents and brother? My father, Michael, stood beside her, his face purple with rage, pointing at the hotel security guards trying to restrain him while cursing profusely. Christopher and Brittany flanked them like two guardians, tearfully accusing me to the gathering crowd. Please, judge for yourselves. This sister took the family's redevelopment compensation money, over $3 million. She is hiding here enjoying herself while her brother is about to go bankrupt from credit card debt, and she does not care. Brittany's acting could have won an Oscar for Best Actress. She even called the police on us. We just wanted to find her and bring her home. Christopher also played the pitiful brother oppressed by his evil sister, his eyes red with tears. Uninformed onlookers began pointing and whispering about me. How can this girl be so unfilial? Exactly. $3 million. What is wrong with giving her brother a few $100,000? When my father saw me, he charged like an enraged bull. You animal! Hand over the property deed and ID. You have no right to hoard the family's money alone. He reached for my Hermes bag. I was prepared and stepped back, pressing the emergency button on my phone. Before my father's hand could touch me, 2 tall hotel security guards quickly stepped forward and restrained his arms. Almost simultaneously, a man in an Armani suit and Cartier glasses, carrying a Louis Vuitton briefcase, quickly pushed through the crowd and stood in front of me. Stop! His voice was not loud, but carried undeniable authority. He raised his iPhone with the camera pointed at my father and the others, the red recording light blinking. I am Rodriguez, the authorized attorney for Ms. Catherine White. Sir, your actions constitute attempted robbery. He turned to my mother, still wailing on the floor, and Christopher and Brittany, who were inciting the crowd. All of your behavior constitutes disturbing the peace in a public place and public defamation of my client. We have recorded everything and reserve all rights to pursue legal action. The scene instantly fell silent. My mother's cries stuck in her throat. Christopher and Brittany's expressions of grief froze on their faces. After a long pause, my mother pointed at me with disbelief and shrieked, Lawyers? You hired lawyers against your own family? Catherine, are you insane? Do you want to send us all to prison? I looked at them coldly, at this family's ugly faces. I walked up to Christopher. If you keep pushing me, I said word by word, my voice clearly reaching each of their ears, I do not mind doing exactly that. I waved my phone, showing them the screen. Also, let me inform you that regarding the $238,000 you owe me, the formal lawyer's letter will be delivered by certified mail tomorrow morning to your direct supervisor and HR manager at Google headquarters. Think carefully, Dr. Christopher. What matters more, your future, or continuing to embarrass yourself here? The effect of the lawyer's letter was more devastating than I had imagined. Rodriguez was extremely thorough. Instead of sending it to Google's general mailroom, he sent it directly marked Legal Matter, Personal Service Required to Christopher's direct manager and HR business partner by name. The next morning, all relevant departments at Google's Silicon Valley headquarters exploded. A new software engineer, a rising technical star the company had high hopes for, was being pursued by his own sister for nearly $240,000. And this sister was a factory worker who had supported him through his doctorate. This story contained betrayal, ingratitude, privileged male behavior, and toxic family dynamics. Every element was enough to ignite Silicon Valley's gossip circles. Reportedly, HR called Christopher into a meeting room that morning. An hour later, Christopher emerged with bloodshot eyes. That afternoon, his core project was paused. The leadership's reason was clear. Given Christopher's current personal financial disputes, his personal integrity and ethics needed examination, so the project would be taken over by other colleagues. This essentially pronounced his career at Google dead. That evening, my new phone number received a call from an unknown number. I answered. Instead of curses or shouting, I heard Christopher's suppressed, desperate sobbing. Sis, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I am not human. He cried breathlessly, repeating those words of repentance. Please withdraw the lawyer's letter, okay? I am begging you. My job, my future. It is all gone. The manager wants to fire me. He cried and pleaded, making himself sound utterly pitiful. I listened to his one-man show with no expression. When he finally cried himself out and waited for my judgment, I said only 2 words. Pay up. Silence on the other end, then more intense wailing. I do not have money, sis. I really do not have money. I am about to lose my job. How can I pay you back? Give me some time. I will definitely pay. Please have the lawyer withdraw the letter first, please. His logic was always to satisfy his interests first. Before I could respond, the phone was snatched away. Brittany's hysterical curses shot out like machine gun fire. Catherine, you bitch! May you die horribly! Do you have to drive our entire family to death to be satisfied? You destroyed my husband's career. I will fight you. She used every vicious word she could think of to curse me. I quietly listened while my finger lightly tapped the screen, pressing the call recording button. In her furious cursing, perhaps driven mad with rage or having held in too much resentment, she finally said something fatal. Do you think his PhD was so easy to get? Do you know how much money we spent to bribe his damn advisor? That $50,000 you gave us, claiming it was for lab equipment, we did not touch a penny and used it all to pay his advisor for data. Now that you have destroyed his job, how are we supposed to pay you back? My blood nearly froze in that instant. I had caught his most deadly weakness. I remained calm, waited for her to finish screaming, then asked in a deliberately confused tone. $50,000? Buying data? Bribing which advisor? His dissertation was not written word by himself. Do you know the consequences of academic fraud? The cursing stopped abruptly. Instead, there was dead silence. She realized what she had said. A few seconds later, the call was frantically disconnected. I slowly lowered the phone from my ear. I looked at the recording file that had just been saved on my screen. A slow, cold smile gradually spread across my face. Christopher, your biggest asset is about to disappear. I spent the entire night methodically organizing all the evidence like preparing for the most important exam of my life. First, I found the bank transfer record for that $50,000 from 3 years ago in my old phone's iCloud backup. The memo line clearly read 6 words, for Chris Lab Equipment. Then I extracted the key portion of that phone recording where Brittany revealed everything. Finally, I wrote a 5,000-word formal complaint letter. Without any personal emotion, I simply listed the timeline and evidence chain like an objective narrator. With all materials prepared, I packaged them into an encrypted email. The subject line read, Formal Complaint Regarding Academic Fraud by Christopher White, Student ID XXXX, Stanford University PhD Program. I sent this email simultaneously to 2 addresses, the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Inspector General and Stanford University's Office of Community Standards and Graduate School Public Email. After completing this, dawn was breaking. I closed my MacBook, drew the curtains, and watched the sun slowly rise over the Atlantic Ocean. I knew Christopher's good days were over. The official response was faster and more serious than I had imagined. Academic fraud, especially formal complaints with such clear and complete evidence chains, represented a huge scandal and stain for any Ivy League-level university. Within 2 weeks, Stanford University's website posted a brief but weighty announcement. The university has received a formal complaint regarding alleged academic misconduct by a recent graduate. The evidence provided is substantial and credible. The university takes such allegations very seriously and has established a special investigative committee led by the Office of Community Standards to conduct a thorough review. Now Christopher and my dear family members were truly panicked. My phone was bombarded with calls from various unknown numbers, which I knew were them borrowing phones from relatives and friends. They went from pleading to cursing to threatening. I read none of the messages and answered none of the calls. Rodriguez told me that Christopher and Brittany were running around frantically trying to find connections, hoping the advisor who had taken the money would help them. But that advisor was more panicked than they were, directly applying for sabbatical leave to research in Europe, completely unreachable. A month later, the final judgment came in an indisputable official form. Stanford University's homepage featured a bold black font headline announcing a lengthy official statement. Decision to revoke PhD degree of Christopher White. The statement detailed Christopher's serious plagiarism, core experimental data fabrication, and obtaining research results through improper means. The conclusion? After final deliberation by the Academic Integrity Committee, Christopher White's PhD degree was revoked, and his academic misconduct entered into his permanent academic record. The next day, Google quickly issued an internal memo. Termination of employment, Christopher White. The reason was simple. Due to serious academic fraud and personal integrity issues incompatible with Google's core values, immediate termination. From a promising Stanford PhD to having his degree revoked and employment terminated for academic fraud. Christopher's life completely collapsed in his 30th year. That night, my nearly unused old phone rang again. It was my mother, Carol. Her voice was no longer sharp or angry, only the weakness and pleading of someone near death. "Daughter, please let your brother go. I am kneeling to you. Please." "He has nothing left. He wants to jump off a bridge. He is your only brother." I listened to her heartbreaking sobs on the other end. This time, my heart felt not even the slightest ripple. No anger, no sadness, not even the satisfaction of revenge. Only a vast, empty, dead silence kind of calm. I said nothing and quietly hung up. A few minutes later, a text message arrived. It was from Brittany. "Catherine, you won. You destroyed all of us. I am divorcing him. I hope you die alone with your money." I read the message and casually deleted it. I walked onto the suite's balcony and looked at the distant fishing lights dotting the ocean's surface. Lonely? Number. I had never felt as free as I did now. 6 months later, the urban redevelopment process went exceptionally smoothly. A total of $3,023,000 was deposited into my personal account in installments. With the money, I did not splurge like nouveau riche. I hired America's top wealth management team to create an extremely conservative asset allocation plan, ensuring my financial independence for the rest of my life. Then I bought a modest 2-bedroom condo in a pleasant coastal area of San Diego, California, paying cash. The house had a spacious terrace where I planted flowers and greenery. My old life from the first half of my existence was left behind like discarded clothing. I enrolled in the local community college, starting with the GED and working through each course. The library became my most frequent destination. All the knowledge and experiences I had missed due to poverty, I decided to reclaim bit by bit. I hired a personal trainer and began fitness and yoga. Years of factory labor had left my body with many problems, which I repaired through sweat and persistence. I began traveling alone with a backpack. No longer satisfied with Miami beaches, I went to Yellowstone to see Old Faithful erupt, to Alaska to witness the magic of the Northern Lights, and to Europe to feed pigeons at the Louvre. During my travels, I began recording my experiences and insights in writing. I started an anonymous blog sharing my story, not to seek sympathy, but to show girls trapped by toxic families that life offered other possibilities. To my surprise, my blog went viral. Countless women emailed me, confiding in me and seeking help. Using the knowledge I had gained and my personal experience, I helped them, providing advice and strength. I had found a career more valuable than making money. A few years later, some investment business required me to return to my long-estranged old hometown. After finishing the business that cold evening, with light snow falling, I parked my Tesla on the roadside, planning to buy a hot latte from the newly opened Starbucks nearby. As I got out of the car, my gaze inadvertently swept across an overpass on the other side of the street. I saw a man hunched over, struggling to pull plastic bottles and cardboard from an overflowing dumpster. He was extremely thinly dressed, completely dirty, with messy hair, shivering in the cold wind. Perhaps sensing my stare, he instinctively looked up. Snowflakes fell on his face, which was devastated by life and years beyond recognition. But those eyes, I recognized. It was Christopher. He saw me too, saw me getting out of a clean, warm Tesla, wearing a proper Burberry coat with refined makeup, looking radiant. In that instant, I saw his eyes explode with extremely complex emotions: shock, shame, envy, regret, and a deep-rooted fear. I paused for just 1 second, then I turned and walked into the brightly lit Starbucks behind me. I never looked back. This is my story, Catherine White's story. How a factory worker once exploited by her family used courage and wisdom to regain control of her life. Some say I was too cruel, others say I was justified. But I know I made the right choice. In this world, no one is obligated to pay for others' greed and selfishness, even if that person is your family. Freedom has never been a free gift. It requires courage to fight for it and wisdom to protect it. And I finally learned this lesson. The second half of my life began from that moment when I said no. From then on, my life belonged only to me.